Contents, Fasteners definition. Fasteners classifications. Non-detachable fasteners types. Detachable fasteners types. Non-threaded fasteners types. Threaded fasteners types. Types of bolts and screws.
Devices that are used to connect two or more objects together mechanically are called fasteners. The process is called fastening. It is important that the mechanic become familiar with the various types, uses, and proper installation of fasteners. Non-detachable fasteners are permanent fastening. It involves destruction during separation. Detachable fasteners are temporary fastening. It doesn't involve destruction during separation. Wood screws. Wood screws are screws with a smooth shank and tapered point for use in wood and other soft materials.
Machine screws are used with a nut or in a tapped hole. Most machine screws are fully threaded to the head and are used for the assembly of metal parts. Like all screws, there are many head designs to choose from.
Thread cutting machine screws are machine screws with a thread cutting, self-tapping point. Sheet metal screws have sharp points and threads and are designed to be driven directly into sheet metal. They can also be used in softer materials like plastic, fiberglass, or wood. Self-drilling sheet metal screws are sheet metal screws with a self-drilling point. Hex bolts, or hex cap screws, are bolts with a hexagonal head with threads for use with a nut or tap hole. Fully threaded hex bolts are also known as tap bolts. Carriage bolts. Carriage bolts have smooth, domed heads with a square section underneath that pulls into the material to prevent spinning during installation. Commonly used to fasten wood parts. Also used to fasten steel parts with square punch holes.
Lag bolts, or lag screws, are bolts with a wood thread and pointed tip. A lag bolt is really a heavy-duty screw with a square or hex head. Socket screws are machine screws with an internal hex socket, Allen, drive. Longer lengths may have a smooth shank.
Set screws. Set screws are machine screws with no head for screwing all the way into threaded holes. Frequently used to hold a knob, collar, pulley or gear to a rotating shaft. There are a variety of head or point styles, each best suited for its job.
Eye bolts are bolts with a circular ring on the head end, used for attaching a rope or chain. Eye lags are similar to eye bolts but with wood threads instead of machine thread. J-shaped bolts are used for tie-downs or as an open eye bolt. Bolts in U-shape are used for attaching to pipe or other round surfaces. Also available with a square bend. Shoulder bolts, also known as stripper bolts, are used to create a pivot point. Elevator bolts are often used in conveyor systems. They have a large, flat head. Sex bolts, Chicago bolts, have a female thread and are used for through bolting applications, where a head is desired on both sides of the joint. Mating screws have a shoulder that matches the diameter of the sex bolts they are used with. Hanger bolts have wood thread on one end and machine thread on the other end.